If you haven't been keeping track at home, I don't know how you couldn't, because I mentioned it in every episode of the last four. We've been having our own little remake narrative on this show. I thought it was only fitting since I love talking about them, or we and everyone does, and it's such a hot topic across Hollywood and just the world as a whole. The idea that we're out of creativity, except what about when you see an amazing remake, such as we did last week with David Cronenberg's version of The Fly, and then you're curious what the first version Fox did in 1958 was like with Vincent Price. So we had to find out this week. It's on Netflix. I would recommend checking it out, even if it isn't as amazing as the one from 1986. And it's really important to note that they're looking to make another one of these in the next year or two. Welcome to Cinema. I'm Brian Gillis.
And I'm Stephen Maltmanex.
Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, it can sadly put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we missed, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the others' opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
Will everyone in the theater hold on firmly to his seat, please? Stop it! Stop it! I'm Vincent Price. What unearthly horror did that girl gaze upon? What manner of incredible thing walked beneath that hood? It would be unfair at this time to show you any more of what went on in that laboratory where a man actually dared to play God. So fantastic, words can't begin to describe it. You must see it with your own eyes to believe it. When the fly comes your way.
Unless you have plans to one-up me, this is the end of our remake series, I take it?
I'm not really thinking about it, no.
Now, just curious.
Nothing directly. It's not like we'll get something coming back, but just not sometime soon. It's not a thing I'm planning on continuing, not intentionally anyway.
It's a mini series within the show. It's interesting, and so we can talk about it as a whole now. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, and it kind of comes full circle.
This is the one time that the remake and the original actually bookend each other.
I'm just saying, in terms of it went. You had seen the remake but not the original. I had seen the remake but not the original. You had never seen either, and you finally saw it, and I was so enthused that I finally started where we began, and I saw the original of the remake I like so much. Or we both did, actually, because we both really enjoyed Cronenberg's The Fly.
You know what? Next week's pick has rumblings of a remake behind it, but we'll see.
What's the pick?
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay, good. That's a good one. Because I was like, you better not fucking waste your Easter pick.
No, I'm thinking about it. I'm going back to topicality.
I kind of want to do something experimental if you have the brain power right now, where we've finally seen the two versions of a film, the two versions of a story, and yet we haven't actually read the story. Do you want to take a siesta and actually read the story, or just review the film?
Good Lord, how long is the story?
It's short. It premiered in Playboy. If I could find it online, I could send you a link. I have to imagine it's only 6 or 7 pages. It's funny, especially with the term just remake, that we have this notion, especially when it comes to Disney properties, that original story never existed. This is intellectual property created by Fox that they made once, and then they remade, and then they might be remaking a third time. Never mind the two sequels to the two versions of the films that exist. And yet, it's a story. It was written by someone.
It's adapted from something. I mean, I just kind of assume that that Kafka's The Metamorphosis was some sort of inspiration for this idea, because I don't know if you ever read that in college.
Yeah, I've read it. It's pretty fucking weird. All of Kafka is weird.
Yeah, but it's there's definitely, it's different, but there's definitely some stuff in there that you just can't help but think, this is probably kind of like that.
It looks pretty short. You want to do this?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, so fuck the internet. That was the wrong short story. But it was still good.
Okay.
I liked it. It was pretty good. I found The Real Thing by George Langland. It's quite long. So yeah, good thing we got the wrong one, or else we'd be still reading for like another 10 minutes or
All
so.
right, well, that's interesting to know because I saw one thing that was loosely similar to the movie in this story.
Yeah,
But
me too, right? I was like, is this the right thing? And I finished it and I did some
yeah,
research.
it's
Like,
like
no,
we
it's the wrong
can't
thing.
really talk about this until the end. But all right, yeah, no, it works in a different way. I was thinking for a second, oh, is this just one of those cases where Hollywood just wants to buy the idea? But
Right? No,
you
I think The
know,
Real Thing is The Real Thing, though.
all right.
But even so, I like there was like that paragraph about like the fly washing itself. I was like, ooh, that's really good. That. Is that the only part they took from the story? That's a mistake.
All
But our
right.
listeners don't know about it because they didn't read any version. I don't think anyone really has ever read this short story anyway. So at least we tried. We might have
Yeah.
failed, but we tried. I'll probably do it after we record.
It wasn't a bad read. It was a nice short one.
It's from like 1922 or something. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, you can check that out. It wasn't bad. Catherine, whatever her last name was.
Yeah,
I
which when
forget
you
now.
look her up too, she's from New Zealand, which I wanted to see what the deal with what that was because I wanted to find out what the hell is up with Montreal as being part of this story, just why that's a thing for this
Yeah,
movie.
it's really weird in this movie. I think it was just thrown in there for God knows what reason to like to try to be like it's an international movie with the. Are they even Quebec? I don't know, but it's like they got French actors.
The first
with
guy
French
that you
accents.
see Gaston, I don't know if he is a French actor, but like just right off the bat, it's weird because you got this nice like just slow atmospheric hook in there, but then when he first sees the crushed body, just the
Oh
expression on
my
his
God,
face, it's like, oh man,
man.
you're really overdoing it. Like this is a stereotype, isn't it?
Especially the inspector too, and like how like quintessentially French he is, like to a T. Like he's not a detective, he's an inspecteur, and everyone's like Mademoiselle and this and Professeur, and then it's like Vincent Price like couldn't be bothered to even pretend like he is Canadian. It's like him and his brother in the film, like they both of them. They're just like out of left field, and then their son's name is Philippe. It's like what,
Yep.
what's going on?
It's like why Canada? I know that the remake is shot in Toronto, but is this a distinctly Canadian story? Like, well, I don't know. Maybe
I don't
off the
think so. I
original
think-
story that we did not read. That could be a
Yeah.
thing.
It could be a thing, but even if it was a thing, it shouldn't be a thing because it's not like French culture has anything to do outside of going to the ballet. Like it's not relative. I think, like I said, even though this is 1958, it's Cinemascope. It's a fairly colorized film. Maybe that was just an additional leg of no, honey. Like yeah, it's supposed to be a scary movie, but it's Canadian. It's in Quebec. There's culture here. It's a good one. And it kind of is a good one.
Kinda. It's sort of unfair to watch the remake first and then to watch this. I gotta say, because I mean, there's no arguments here. The remake obviously better.
It's still the same story though, which is weird. I mean, it goes a lot further because just the artistry allowed in the 80s or the postcode era, like once the MPAA was established
It's not
and
just
you
the
weren't in the
violence,
studio system.
you know?
Yeah, not even just the studio system. I mean, not just the violence, but just in terms of artistic design. For instance, like when she crushes her husband in the press, you get it like kind of censored behind a pillar, so you can't see it. But that's not what I'm talking about.
No.
It's just the whole story.
You do see the blood, although like I gotta say, like just the way that the story unwraps in the remake, it's like you really see that process and that gradual evolution. This
the
one,
metamorphosis.
it's not so much a murder mystery, but it's more of like just a mystery of like seeing what happened because you never really get to see what happened. You're just kind of just learning things as you go. It takes like half an hour to really get going to the flashbacks.
It's a pretty shitty story structure when you get 30 minutes, especially having seen a remake
Yeah.
and knowing the story 100%, to watch a movie for about 30 minutes to finally uncover what happened, and then the majority of the film for the next part is in a flashback, and you already know something tragic's gonna happen. However, like I think this one does an even better job of being a horror film. Like there are some scary moments, like the unveil for instance.
No,
That's a great Wilhelm scream. Like that, there's some panic here. The fly effect of like the 30 eyes or whatever is pretty
the fly
awesome.
vision. I figured you would like that. Honestly, I mean,
It is really cool.
it was for me. It's not a bad thing, but it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, this is a cheesy '50s B movie moment where I saw it coming as far as how it's presented. It's like, yeah, that sheet's gonna rip off. We're gonna see the head, and the music is gonna go dun dun dun, and then there's gonna be screaming, and it's gonna be the cheesiest thing ever. It's not a bad thing. It's just like it's almost unfair of me to say that because you got to watch this in context of the time too. But
in that moment, though, when I was in that sequence, I kind of was transported to a cinema house. And I almost imagined the audience like all together screaming / laughing together. And in in contemporary horror films, they don't really have that anymore outside of jump scares. There isn't like a big crescendo. Like the whole film, especially in the flashback, first you get the glimpse of his hand. Then you hear him eating. You get this stuff. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? You finally get it, and, it might be pretty cheesy, admittedly.
By today's standards, definitely.
But I can imagine that being pretty fucking scary in the time. On paper, it's the same story. It's the tragedy of this love going sour because this scientist is, compelled to perfect teleportation, and he's in love with his work more so or just as much as his partner, and it engrosses him, and it makes him a monster. Except whereas you have love from beginning to end in David Cronenberg's vision, they meet, they fall in love, that falls apart, one of them dies, it's over. In this one, it's like, this is a horrible fucking father. Like, how did they even meet in the first place? If, according to all the other characters, he's always been like this.
It's a 1950s nuclear family, He loves two things, his family and his work.
I don't think he does love his family, though.
I didn't never see it, though. The first time that you meet him is right when she's telling the story in flashback, and she starts from the moment that it happens. So you never really see the build-up.
Look, this is my proof of him not being a good parent / good father / even loving his family.
I'm not disagreeing with the point.
I need it has the same beats. Like, okay, I've teleported inanimate objects. It's not perfect. Oh, I perfected it. Let me try an animal.
It's the disintegrator reintegrator.
Yeah. Let me grab my fucking cat that I just told my son to, not be mean to, and let me throw it in this thing, and the cat disappeared. Let me not tell my family for like 5 months. What kind of fucked up parent is that?
I think it's just a cliche with scientists is that they're always about, in fiction, it's always about taking risks, and they always kind of let their humanity slip away in the process.
But then months later, he gets a guinea pig, like a literal guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think he would just do that first. He has this $200,000+ experiment going on in his basement.
All right, well, taking the shitty parent idea out of the way, it's kind of the same idea where even with the remake, where he has the idea with the cat of just doing it on the whim, where he's like, oh, I wonder if this can work. I can't wait. Why don't I try this now? With Jeff Goldblum, it's the same thing with when he goes in the machine. He tries it on the whim. Now, there are other factors in there.
He does a lot of different things, between the stocking, which is duplicated here with the porcelain. And I like that effect where it's like, oh, it's not quite right. The text on the bottom is backwards.
It's a nice way of doing it.
That's awesome. That way, when he fixes it, he has the newspaper and the text isn't backwards. I was like, okay, that's cool. But it's the gradual process from stocking or plate to the baboon, and in this version, the cat. Okay, where it goes wrong, and then eventually it's a little bit past that, a better baboon, which is the guinea pig, which works, then the steak, and then in this one, it's himself, and you don't even see it. Like, that's the final thing. I think the problem, it's not even a problem, just what truly separates the two versions is the metamorphosis being lacking in this one, and it just being more of like a tragedy that there's kind of no discourse for it. Just, something bad happened.
Yeah.
Someone has to deal with it. Versus Brundlefly is like this whole roller coaster where he seems fine. Now he's a superhero. Now he's crazy. Now he wants this. And like it kind of does that also here with just the way that the scientist kind of like has this inner turmoil. He's fighting himself.
Which again is cheesy, like, but
Very cheesy.
yeah, it's like, oh, it's like the Doctor Strangelove hand, black glove and then real hand. He's trying to fight that away, and it looks too silly, but I get it. Like the idea is there. It's at least it's trying to show it in some way or communicate just that his humanity slipping away. I like it best though with just his handwriting.
The handwriting's good.
Fading.
Like
Yeah,
going from the typewriter to the way of communicating through knocking, and then the actual chalkboard. Like that sequence when he destroys everything is pretty powerful. When he burns all of his paperwork, destroys the disintegrator, reintegrator, and then how his handwriting in that same scene goes from pretty legible to what the fuck am I reading to big caps.
Yeah, it's just like complete struggle there. But this is like a perfect example of a movie that absolutely should have been remade. Because that's the thing that you get with Cronenberg's version is you get that gradual just loss of humanity as he keeps going in just so many different ways. This one, he goes through, he knows what happened, it just happens. He knows he's getting messed up in the head as it keeps going, and to the point where he decides to end his own life. But you don't get the journey throughout it. You kind of just get the wife's perspective, which is that is actually one thing I noticed, which how often do you get female-led films of this time period, especially a horror film, and you kind of just get her, like, she's the only one that's trying to keep everything
it's still
together.
led by Vincent Price. Let's get that straight. Like, he might be the third build, but
he's the profile name.
He's in the majority of the scenes. He's kind of the one that progresses everything. He has the plot, like, in his pocket by the way that he just goes, "Oh, yeah, I caught the fly. We have it. Now tell us what happened, because I love you, and I want everything to be good." By the way, this is like
good impression.
The only time I've ever seen Vincent Price in his heyday. I think the only time outside of this is like Edward Scissorhands.
Really?
I didn't know he was so flamboyant at all. I've just seen like snapshots of him and shit.
You got a lot more to see, man.
Yeah, like it was kind of the same effect of the first time I saw James Dean in action when I saw Rebel Without a Cause. I was like, wait, that's him, the crybaby that talks like a girl, the sissy? That's James Dean, the original badass. And for Vincent Price, it was kind of the same thing. I was like, whoa. I was thinking back to House on Haunted Hill. I really liked that remake. I was thinking, wait, he was the main guy. He was Jeffrey Rush, or better yet, like 13 Ghosts, or like any of those not Castle Rock. I've done that twice on the show. Any of those Black Castle films. I definitely have to see more of his stuff. He's interesting. I like his fashion sense, even though it's not his fashion sense. It's the art director, but you can still. But what I do like, and how I said I think that this pays off better in like a true horror film, is that this one gave me goosebumps. I mean, that's because I've seen the Cronenberg version several times, but that final moment, first off, just the idea that yes, this scientist went through with a fly on accident, and he came out as a fly. It's the same. However, there was also a fly that came out that was also him. And that's a cool concept, especially the amount of times that you see that fly, and then the payoff for that.
Help me.
I got goosebumps, man. Not the help me line, but when they were looking at him and he's trapped in that spider web, yeah, like that got me a little bit.
I'm sorry, I was laughing. I was really just, it looked way too silly to me. Like, and then there's the moment where just the inspector smashes it out with a rock and puts it out of his misery, and then he just goes, "I shall never get that scream for as long as I live." And I'm just sitting there laughing, thinking, "Yeah, bud, you and me both." Like, it's too memorably funny in a cheesy way to me that I can't take it seriously. But
I was pretty deep in the story at that point. I was interested in this like journey for the fly with the white head and leg. Like, I had assumed, especially because I'm not stupid, that it was white because it's the father. Sure.
Yeah, but like I was thinking like small traces of it or something, not like a full on close up where, oh my god, that's a human head.
It's fucking spooky.
It's just too it's way too silly for me.
It wasn't,
I mean, especially with something, because like this is not really a horror film or a B movie of the 50s, which is weird. It's kind of a tragedy, but like It really, when you get down to it, it's of this woman that's trying to like keep her family together and just save this marriage. Because like,
Fucking psycho ladies,
well, like she's really in deep on it. Like she's the only one that knows what's going on when she's searching the house for the other fly, which it's weird because it's like I think the idea is interesting. Then again, I didn't find the scene that exciting, even though there were some cool little things as far as stakes, like that little crack in the window
the
that's
crack in the
there.
window, the sugar, the don't
Yeah.
fucking kill them, like all the journey that she's going on, just like as you said, trying to keep her family together. She's the only one that knows anything, and for all the way until we get this flashback, and then you're kind of like, wow, your life sucks. Like you get the same kind of when he takes her to the ballet, you get that moment of seduction where you're like, oh, this is why she loves him. This is why she's doing all this with him. This is why she killed him twice essentially because she didn't want the public to know about
Yeah.
the mutation that occurred.
And that touch was really nice when they answered that of
Why
were
it
there
was
like
two presses.
yeah, two presses.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's an arm there.
What was stupid about that scene though is why did she almost let herself die the first time? Like I didn't understand that.
I think that was the duality of the fly trying, like the fly part of him trying to kill her there.
I don't think so.
And she just,
like
I don't know, she just didn't want him to die like that because he was struggling to hold the arm down. So
I don't
it's like
know,
the fly personality of him knew
it's-
what was going on. It was just a battle over internal will at that point, which
it's wonky.
yeah, it's really tough to communicate that, but that's what I got out of it because they established that internal just battle between fly personality and human personality because there's still some of it split. Like that human personality is there in that tiny fly. Like as far as I understand it, based on how the sequel kind of does a better job of communicating, is that little small fly, it's just a human head, but it's able to say things that's on its mind. So that's really kind of the fly's thoughts on there. Just
Yeah, talk
with
about that.
tiny
You
bits on that.
saw the Return of the Fly.
I did the
and
same.
is it a direct sequel or?
It's a direct sequel. Like they shot it less than a year later. Here's the deals. Like this is, by the way, this one's a Cinemascope film that's shot in colors. So
yeah, it's
it
deluxe.
looks
It's very pretty.
very beautiful. The a really cool thing, by the way, we didn't even talk about was the process of the machine, which I really liked. I got like kind of a
pretty
50s.
much It's exactly the same, really. Just big flash of light in this machine.
Yeah, but
and
like
then
the
you
use of
cut over to the other
color,
one.
the knobs and lights and all
the
those effects.
neon lights on the machine, the greens and the reds, like real cool.
It kind of has like this
The
old,
sound of
like like this old sort of like Disney live action dreamy vibe to it, or George Pal sort of vibe. So what's weird is that the sequel it's cheaper. I think this one was shot for a budget of $500,000, I think. So the sequel was shot for even less than that. It was half of that, I think. They kept the Cinemascope, but they shot it in black and white. So right away, it obviously looks like a 50s B movie. And this movie that we're talking about here ends with this really nice monologue of Vincent Price about saying, like, what Philippe's dad died
Like,
for.
your
It was like,
dad's one flaw was
Yeah.
that he always was looking for the answers in life, and he wasn't pleased or satisfied without going for more.
It's like he was an explorer, but he was looking for something great, but he was
He's looking
careless.
for
He fucked
the
up
truth
for
of the
1
universe.
second, and those words evidently stuck with Philippe because when he becomes an adult, he thinks, well, I want to find out what happens. So Vincent Price is straight up honest with him about what happens, and then Philippe gets this idea in his head of, I should continue his research.
How do you continue the research when it was all burned?
Well, what's weird? First off, they go back to the house when he discovers, and you do see these remains of the stuff there. There's some details of the production design that I thought was really cool, where you have the chalkboard there, and it's clearly been hastily erased over, but you can still make out some stuff that's there. So that was the best detail that I saw of that. But yeah, he salvages everything he can, tries to find some
Boy
notes,
genius.
even though they're burned up. This is so weird, by the way. The sequel. You remember Gaston at the beginning of this movie, who really
with his
doesn't have
cat,
any
yeah.
importance? So apparently he is so devastated by what happened in the first film that now he watches over that house and
What?
comes in. Yeah, like it's weird. He's also there for just one scene, but yeah, he just watches over it to make sure that no one goes over it. It's a cheap sequel, But yeah, so it's about Philippe doing that. And he has another worker helping him out, and it's not really much of a remake, honestly, when for that first half, because it's just kind of going through the motions. And then there's some differences there where they play with some cool stuff where, okay, they put a guinea pig through, but then they have a different problem where it comes out a different size, so they got to play with that. It really is until a plot twist, though, at the halfway point where it kind of becomes batshit insane and awesome as a monster movie. And this fly starts fucking killing people, and I don't want to spoil it because I actually
don't spoil it.
I really had fun with it. Just how batshit insane that second part goes.
Based off of what you've said already, it seems like The Fly 2, the sequel to the remake, is also a remake of The Return of the Fly in certain ways. It involves the son
of the original person.
Of the original person. And it does go batshit insane, and he starts killing people.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's a full-on B movie, this one. But yeah, I dare I say I enjoyed it more. I'm not so sure it's a better film, but I had a better time with it, with just how crazy it was. And it was a short 80 minutes, didn't really demand much out of me. I was laughing at it in kind of the same ways I was here for this one, but just more so as like for what it was, because this one, I don't know if I'm being unfair to it, because there's a lot of stuff that's really nice that I really, really thought for a second I was going to get a classic that I wanted to like on a different level. Like, right when it starts, like there is the Technicolor. I really dug the score of how it opened with that fly buzzing effect.
The opening sequence, which is pretty much recreated in the Cronenberg movie. Just with more technology, like the text, for instance, is like green, like dot matrix, and here it's just standard. But just the way, like, it's like a gradual close-up or like push into this hole, and then you get the fly flying out. You're like, oh yeah, it kind of sets the scene really well, and then it also loses your interest for about 30 minutes because what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, that is something I guess I got to credit this is like, I wasn't necessarily sure what the narrative structure of this was, if this was like the death of somebody that tried to experiment on something and then someone was going to pick it up from there on their research. But it did hold my interest, like, as far as just wondering what the hell happened and wanting to know more. But it's not a slow burn, it's just a slow build. And then
imagine the trailers, though, for this film.
Oh, no, the trailer is great.
I don't have to see the trailer. I can imagine already.
Well, you hear a little bit of it in the beginning, and the trailer is great at pitching this.
It would be something like, the scientist who loved his work so much he took it home with him, and he has become the Fly.
Well, here's
and then
how it goes.
You hear like, like that's, that's
here's
the
how it is. It's really cool.
See it in Cinemascope.
There's that sound with the fly, just buzzing, and then you get that screen from Helene, and then it just goes with Vincent Price shouting, "Stop! Stop the picture!" And then he goes into his whole monologue of like, "What did that woman gaze upon? We will not show you these horrors right now. It would be a sin to do so.
Wow.
You have to see it for yourself." And then it just keeps on playing audio clips of the movie with that fly sound in the background. And it sounds really cool. Like, it sounds way better than what the actual movie was. It makes it seem more exciting. But
like, seriously, imagine if they did trailers like that still. Like, if the next Blumhouse movie that comes out is just, like you see, I guess like the audience jump scare, like infrared camera stuff that they did for a while there. It's kind of the same effect. And then you get the lobby, like Pop Vox, where they're like, "Oh, it's so good, it's scary, I saw it twice." Like, I guess that's the same kind of thing nowadays. I highly recommend you check out the Fly 2. I think you'll like it. It's fun.
Yeah,
I was talking about last night, like Eric Stoltz in a leading role. This is only a year or two after Back to the Future came out. You got to remember he was the original Marty McFly. Like, not like screen tests. Like, literally, he was Marty McFly for like a week.
2 weeks.
Yeah, like it was him. Like, there's footage. It's just not colored, or colorized rather, like color timed. So he could have been the next big thing, and he does get a breakout in that role. And then even cooler than that, the makeup artist behind The Fly, who won the Oscar, mind you, actually directed the sequel, which is cool too.
That's a common thing with horror sequels. Have you noticed?
Right?
Like,
it's like the
they
writer
bring in someone from
or
the technical team, whether it's the editor or the production designer.
The writer sometimes.
That's definitely true with the Saw series, at the very least.
Oh yeah. Like, hey, you guys kind of worked on it.
I'll just be like, "Hey, would you like to direct something?"
Of course I would.
Yeah.
Okay, you're already kind of familiar with the movie, and then we can go, "Hey, from the minds behind the first one," and then we're not lying. We're not lying.
And that's someone's way of getting a start with their director's career. Like, actually, Underworld 3 did the same thing where they brought in the production designer. I don't know. Sometimes they bring in visual effects guys.
I've yet to see any of those in full. Like, I think I've seen the first. Like, I'm very familiar with the story. It's like Lycans versus vampires, and then there's this one dude that becomes both, and it's like a war that's been going on forever.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen enough of the films that I'm familiar. Like, especially with like the bullet time action and how fast paced the combat is. Just I don't know.
It's fine.
It's
like
trashy.
yeah. I mean, like I dug the first two just fine. I think I enjoyed the third one the best because that was a prequel that really.
That's the Rise one, yeah, with Michael Sheen.
I mean, that one had cool production design, and it was a period piece at that point, so it was sort of fun. I saw it in theaters back when it came out, but I don't remember it that well.
I'm like 90% certain I've seen the entirety of the first film. Just I don't like. If someone asked me like the story, I'd be like, oh yeah, there's Kate Beckinsale, and she's a badass, but then she falls in love with one of the werewolves, and then they fuck, and then he somehow becomes a vampire too, or like I think that's the story. I remember set pieces. Like
yeah. All right, then where do you? I mean, I remember just that one shot. I guess where it. I think Kate Beckinsale's just standing on the top of a church or something,
and she jumps off.
Just because it's imagery that's been pounded into my head from commercials and shit.
It's just the thing is, like,
I think it's the poster too.
The way everyone looks, it's kind of like it's totally a Matrix vibe.
Oh yeah,
when like she looks like Trinity.
Yeah,
like
100%. It's one of the big like Matrix knockoffs in that sense, where everyone's got the leather jackets and whatnot. But okay, back to this. Where are we on ratings? Where are you anyway?
I mean, I saw this on Netflix. I saw it late at night. I had to see it because, I like the remake so much, and it just fits perfectly in our series that we've done right now. Can't buy it, though. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting slice of cinema, like one of my first Vincent Price films. Just the fact that this was produced like a year after the short story was published is cool. The scale of it, not the scale, but the production, the size of the budget is pretty impressive for, a genre film like this. Like comparing it to something like, Plan 9 from Outer Space, like one of our other selections, which is like as cheap as a movie gets. To see, I think it's like the same year too, just to see where horror can go, even though like they're equally bad in their own special ways.
I give that movie way more credit than this one,
just because it's more inventive.
Cinemascope, yeah. But then again, it's like, I can't buy this either. But I almost feel like it is sort of unfair having seen the remake first, because I just I wonder what it would have been like to experience this really knowing nothing in some way, because like there's enough here that is very similar that you're just kind of familiar with how the story goes. But like I was seriously interested at first by just that out of order narrative, and it as a mystery almost, just seeing how this plays out. And it's like, if this was the first iteration that I saw, I don't know what impression it would have had on me, or hell, maybe if I saw this as a kid or something, I don't know, maybe it would have appealed to me more. But
that's what I was thinking about. I'm
trying to find something here that would make it a stronger movie. But I really just don't think there is that much of it that works at the end of the day.
At the end of last week's episode, I shared my story about being in Canada and my brother pissing in bed because he was so scared. I'm not sure now if it was this one or it was that one. I don't know
really?
No, I'm serious. I don't know what version of The Fly it was, because to be completely honest, the ending to Cronenberg's film is a lot more clean cut. Like, it isn't scary, whereas it's not the final image here, but like the dude getting caught in that spider web, and just the way it looks when that spider is about to eat his ass, like, it gave me goosebumps. Like, I wasn't like scared or anything.
I was more shocked by Brundlefly when that Brundlefly was complete, prior to going into the teleporter that last time, but like when just that fucking head popped out, that I was just watching that and just going like, whoa. It felt like, wow, this is real. This just happened, like 100%. Here I was laughing, honestly, and maybe it's just because of the sound, like, help me, like I was thinking Horn Hears a Who, that little speck, but I couldn't do anything but laugh at that point.
The movie gets weird at that point.
It was amusing, it had that charm, but
especially when you get to the idea that this police inspector, such a fucking dick, is convinced that this woman murdered her husband, is going to do nothing about it, won't believe her story. I brought the stretcher.
I love how they cleanly resolve suicide.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they just injected your ass. Now you're like laced up and you're going to go to the happy place.
Well, speaking of which, you want to hear something funny about the sequel?
Huh.
So it starts off with her funeral because she's so distraught by the memories of something that happened in the past.
They couldn't afford her.
Per Vincent Price voiceover.
They couldn't afford her.
Yeah, it's just it's a grown-up version of Philippe, even though it looks like it takes place the same exact year.
It's like, this is such a fucking happy ending. Like, it doesn't get happier than this. Like, everyone gets what they want. The mom gets away scot-free. The brother who's in love with his sister-in-law finally gets to spend time with her. It was like she was saying it's his son in the first place. Now it really is his son. But you get like this final little like secret moment between Vincent Price and the inspector where he's like, it could have been suicide.
Yeah,
it could have been
completely forced in there. Yeah,
because if you think about it,
yeah.
oh, I could have forgot to press the reset button on the machine. And then he's like, yeah, that's it. We got the movie, guys. Hey, it's possible. We did it. Or no one did it. He did it. Like,
hey, I think the one scene I like the most is the final scene with Philippe where he's telling him what his dad died for. And then it's even funnier now by the fact that, oh, his future is totally fucked.
Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. You know, trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.